Hello and welcome. My name is Seth. This is Sweet Chariot, and this is a bow. Yeah, it's a bendy piece of wood that I've made. This is what part. Well, if I hadn't broke the last one, this might be part 12, something like that. We've come a long way, is what I'm trying to say, and here we are. I can now string this and show you it at full draw. Let's see. Yeah, as a series to sort of teach how to make a bow, this has got a little bit disrupted because I did a part called gaining draw. After getting to brace height, it was gaining draw, and then from gaining draw, I did starting again. Broke the bow, and I needed to start again. So I took a piece of wood and went through all those stages that I have made videos about. Even though that piece of wood didn't survive, I guess it's sort of a realistic depiction of you bow making. You're likely gonna break them, especially if you don't know what you're doing, like your boy here. But I want to say I'm learning how these things work. I mean, you can make a bow that works, but you want to make a bow that works well. Not only in throwing its arrow, but the way that it feels, the whole shooting experience. Which is where we're at now, I guess you could say. We're at, what am I going to call this video? The middle. This guy right here. Let's get him strung actually as I talk. Actually, no. First, I need to take note of this shape. Yeah, the middle. The middle is where a lot happens, even though there's not much going on there. It needs to stop the bow from breaking in the middle. That's sort of a main factor you want to keep in mind. And obviously you do that with front to back depth. That's what I didn't have on my last bow. On the last stave, I should say. We had some front depth. There wasn't much in the way of back depth. I think I underestimated how weak it was. If you have seen the other videos I did, I showed it. There was a knot here and a knot here on the surface that would have been the handle. And it snapped right here, which caught me out. Doesn't often happen there. It normally snaps around here at that sort of stage. I think what I'd done was rush getting the string on. Someone did actually comment and point it out, and I think he's actually bang on the money. I put the string on too quick, which forced this area to bend more than it was ready for. And in fact, you can go back and look at the thumbnails. You could see that the bend when the old bow, the old stave was braced, the bend was steeper right about here. But the reason I'd done that is fearing not having enough material around the middle and also having knots up in here. So it was really difficult to thin that particular piece of wood down. But I learned. Listen to the comment. I learned what I did wrong, and this time I've tried not to do it. So why didn't string it just then? The shape. This was just strung and pulled to full draw, and this is the back set we've been left with. And if you go back a video, you'll see that while I was trying to reach brace height with this, it was returning to a very flat position, and that is that's the skill of the bow maker, to have it draw to full length all the way down here, and then have these limbs return to as far front of the handle as is possible, because that's what stores energy and then transfers it to the arrow. Obviously the limbs trying to return to their resting position, and the further forward you can make it from the handle, the more energy in theory you're going to store. But we have to sort of talk about different designs here, because length of your piece of wood is key. This is what makes the English longbow work. You haven't got even though there's a couple of things at play. Sort of what's the amount of material in your limbs that will give you your power. But sort of the bigger, thicker your limbs are, the slower they actually move. But with the English longbow, even though the limbs are extremely long, because they're so long, to get to full draw, the tips are probably not. I'm probably not in the frame anymore. Yeah, the tips would be way out here. And imagine to get to full draw, these tips have to go all the way down here. To get to full draw with an English longbow is much less distance. So there's much less distance for them to return. Why is all this important? Because we're trying to balance power and draw length. Draw length is what is going to transfer the energy into the arrow. Whatever energy you've got here, the longer you can have the string back, the more time you have with the string behind the arrow transferring that power into the arrow. The other thing you get from longer draw lengths is a full draw for the archer. So the ability to actually get the elbow back, line everything up properly, and be accurate with the bow, not create any problems with spining. You know, putting an angle onto the arrow that that then causes it to fly strangely. Right, so this is what I've managed to achieve thus far. I've done one heat setting with it, so you should be able to see that the tips are very slightly recurved, and I deflexed the handle, so pushed the very root of the limbs at the wedges just very slightly back. That was an effort to just get things balanced up. So that's one heat treating so far. I would like to put more deflex into these limbs, but like I say, could also try maybe pull this bend out of here, but I have a feeling it's just going to take that shape again. I guess what would need to be done there is flatten everything back out again. So get a bit in the jig, pull this limb back, and then look at tillering again. Try and retiller it, and that will probably be the same issue with the recurving or reflexing the tips as well. But we can have some debates here. I've seen U-bows fully recurved. Sorry, let me just string this. Fully recurved U-bows, designed just like a modern composite bow with a full recurve, the tip facing away from the archer. I've seen it done. Dreamcraft Bows has done it, and other people. And then I've had people say it's just not worth it with your self bow because you take a lot of energy to get to this point. And what was it? A comment I had is that I've lost so many good staves to recurving. And I have done it too as well, actually. Whenever I've on both these other bows that I say, well, my latest bows, what would I call them? Let's call them by their names. Hoodoo. This one's called Hoodoo. Yeah. Come here. Come here, Agent. This one's called Agent. Yeah, on both of these, ended up with just a little crack in the process of trying to get reflex into the tips. Granted, I wasn't using steam, but I've heard them breaking with steam as well. So yeah, here we go. Braced. The new recruit is braced. Nicely balanced on the tree there. Sweet. Good. Right, let's have a look at the tiller. Get this sucker on. Yeah, let's keep in mind what this video is about is the middle. So the middle we're talking about here right now, because we're still dealing with the limbs. So something with the other bow. I got this rule that you want to do as much of the limbs as possible before you do anything to the handle, because you could waste a lot of time on the handle and a limb could just let go. So you really want to make sure they're working well before you do anything to the handle. The other bow, I should have done something to the handle before doing more to the limbs. Yeah, shored up that center area, I made it solid, and then might have been okay, maybe. Yeah, then of course if you add more material to the back, you got to shape it down into the limb, being mindful of the tiller and how it runs down the limb. Yeah, wedges. I've left Not much material. It's not a very large handle on this one. I guess that limits our sort of handle designs that we can do. We'll talk about that later once I get this out the tree. But it does give us nice long limbs, plenty of bow to bend, which is good. That's what you want. Spreads the strain across more wood. And gives us draw length. Ooh, I see that through the camera. It looks nice. Sorry, my draw scale is just resting on the tripod. Hopefully I won't have to, that's not in line. I can see that. You have to imagine that's your thumb. My tripod setup is not pro. I need to fix this. Not quite lined up. I think it's this leather up in the handle area there. That's better. Now I'm going to exercise it towards full draw. Now I've done a bunch of waffling, what I hope makes sense. Yeah, fighting the back set, it's all about making as much of the limb bend as possible before you start doing this, before you start really wailing on it. It's about 26. That's 28. Turn the scale on. We'll see what power we're getting. I think it's around 30 pounds. $30 on the money. And that's at 28. And before we've done anything to the tips, I don't think it's going to add a huge magical amount, but it will likely add something, I guess. It adds resistance. So there we are. Probably got a thumbnail in there of a lovely, lovely bendy bow, looking all nice and tillered. It looks pretty good. The see if I can get a nice frame of this. Let's look at this limb first. Perfect is a strong word, but it's extremely clean. No, it did look like a really nice clean log. This one's right up by the wedge. In fact, it's still got a little piece of wood in there that moves around. But the issue here was knots that weren't actually on the back or off to the side, but what they do is mess with the grain. So it could be strong, like this one is, it seems to work, or it could create a shallow area, a weak area that you're not ready for, that you can't see because it's underneath the wood, obviously. Well, a little bit like this, the sapwoods run thin here. So I guess this could still be an issue, but I have left it just a little bit thicker, and because we're up at the tip, it's not doing too much bending. Like this area down here is just a wee bit more. So, got a £30 U selfbow. Right, let's get you down here, see if I can set up without too much trouble. Yep. Stay there. some sort of angle. What's going on here? We will see if that will do. Because we've got some working limbs. Working limbs and a chunk of wood in the middle of our limbs. So what do we do now? We need to decide on this handle, and we've got a nice chunk of wood to play with. Hang the string up and check the frame a second. I should be able to show you from there. Grab my pencil, get my clamps out of the way, we'll get to you. Right, so, handle. My oily rags out the way as well. We've got a nice wide and deep section of handle. To have both of those things is good. Although, any handle design, we're going to be coming... Yeah, at some point, we're going to be coming in narrower than this. Obviously, taking material away from the middle, you've got to be mindful of structural integrity. Now, it is a bit of a contentious issue. Everything in bow making is a contentious issue. This. Let's get Agent over here. Doing this malarkey. This is center cut, fully center cut, like a modern composite recurve bow. Done a bunch like this. The older ones I did, they were mostly because they came from thinner, less good staves. They were layered up with bits of wood on the back and then center cut like that. And then you give yourself a nice little divot for your hand to go. Space for your thumb to move is really important. Let me give an overview of this type of handle, in fact. Let's take this string off. Yeah, obviously, this now becomes the very center point of the bow. If it goes too thin, it's all just going to snap. I mean, someone who really knows woodwork could take this, sort in half for me, and probably make it into... Ooh, I don't know, actually. If they were very crafty, make it into a takedown bow. That would be extremely cool. The whole idea here is to encourage your hand to grip it with these two fingers. So that's the only part that's really going to be hitting the handle. The rest is just sort of ergonomic to be comfortable, but really when you're shooting, you're right in the web of your thumb there. And to have this space for your thumb to move around is really key in comfort. So that's something, if you decide to do this style of handle, you can feel that, especially if you have access to proper bows, and you can just see how a bow handle is designed and give you a lot of clues. Same with the shelf. There's a lot of things to consider. And it's all a very small area. And, we spent a lot of time putting this thing together, and then you're going to be taking material away from the middle of it. It's nerve-wracking, which is some of the other comments that I've had, that it's just really not worth doing center cuts with self bows like this. Like, even though you can make it work, I think he said, over time it's gonna have issues. It's gonna start to stress in the middle, and it will let go. I mean, it's possible, definitely. If you just use a stave without, building up the material in the back here, you're definitely asking for trouble, no doubt. Even if it, is a, yeah. I mean, you can imagine someone doing it with a longbow sort of depth piece of wood, and yeah, probably not a great idea. I think with longbows, you're almost bending in the middle anyway. The handle is that narrow. Yeah, these designs, isolating the middle of the bow is key for me. I don't know about everyone else. I mean, a little bit of bend in the middle of the bow might not be an issue for some people, but I think when you're talking about making a center cut bow, you're making a bow that is trying to be extremely accurate, and the more material you have in the middle, as well as stopping it from breaking, is gonna deaden shock in the handle, in the shelf where the arrow is, and add just that little sprinkling more accuracy, more refinement to add to your accuracy, I should say. Yeah, center cut. If you're going to do it, try and retain a nice beefy bit of material in the middle, and then you can play around, and then keep that in mind. You know, if you're cutting away the middle, you want to keep it nice and deep here. You need to make it thin here to make it comfortable. Make sure it doesn't go too thin. If you don't go too thin this way, you're going to need to sort of bring the front in here to allow your fingers to get around there comfortably. I almost shot this bow out of my hand once. I think we're just about there now, but obviously I'm tentative about taking any more away. Yeah, this is actually up for sale on eBay. If someone wants to come buy it. It's a really nice bow. About £27, I think. Fires an arrow lovely. Done shorts where I've shot it. Sounds fantastic with an aluminium arrow. But yeah, it's taken an awful lot of... I've learned a lot with this bow. I slowed right down. I was knocking them out. And then I sort of realised that, oh, you can do a lot more to refine them. And obviously this was a nice piece of wood. With all this material on the back. I think it came from a log. About yay size, quite a chunky one. So lots of knots on either side here. And on the back here as well, actually. He's so gorgeous. Someone come and buy it. We're pretty much finished now. So yeah, center cut handle. Mediterranean. Shooting off the left. Center cut style. Absolutely doable with a self-bow. But you're running some risks, without a doubt. What was the other one? This is... obviously, it can only really be done if you have a nice starting amount of material. This is somewhere sort of between, I guess, your traditional style handle, and I've orientated it towards the horsebow handle. I should probably get the horsebow, shouldn't I? This one's also going up for sale. I've not put it up online yet. Around £30 again. See it side by side with this one. It probably comes in slightly under £30. That is my attempt at a horsebow handle out of mahogany. And the same with this one. Yeah, we have arrow passes instead of arrow rests. Now these handles encourage you to grip like this. So you flick the bar out the way like that. So you shoot off. Keep my pencil arrow. Let's say I was a left-handed person. You'd shoot off this side of the bow. Let's swap up. Yep. Shoot like this, and because you're gripping the handle, you twist it out the way. What I'm getting at here is because I got this lovely big chunk of wood, I could make either a traditional horsebow style handle like this, very simple, very elegant, I have to say, or I could go for the center cut, modern, European, Mediterranean, European, what we typically use in the West. This is far more common in Asian bow design. This was sort of what I was trying to emulate here, is an Asian horsebow. And I'll tell you what, for a skinny short piece of yew, this bow is outstanding. I'm seriously surprised it put out the same speed as this one. And you can feel the weight of this one. This is more material. So I don't know what it is about this, the particular slice of yew I managed to get, or the weight of those tips on the end there, just giving a bit more momentum. I don't know. Something else to think about. We'll get to the tips on this bow pretty soon. Yeah, something to consider. I mean, I've always thought that the lighter the tip, the better, because as long as it doesn't break, a light tip begins quickly, and therefore the whole process is quicker. talking about trying to get the limbs to move as quickly as possible. But there could be a trade-off there, and so a heavier tip might begin slower, but then the inertia transfers energy into the arrow. I don't know. Someone this is something that Ollie and the Wales archery specialists suggested, because on compound bows they have weights in very specific areas on the string, and it has an enormous effect on how the string behaves when releasing, in transferring its energy. Yeah, there's the closer you look, sort of the more you try and refine, you realize it's just very fine tolerances with archery. Your power levels and how your arrows work, and so on. And I guess how your arrows work is probably how you decide. Well, what style of shooting do we want to do? I mean, yeah, I've had people say, don't do a center cut on your traditional bows, on your self bows. So maybe we should go for this. I mean, this is sort of what I've had in mind. It's not the longest handle. There's not a huge amount of space to be doing a shelf and sort of a deep handle to it. And in theory, you can shoot off both sides. These are ambidextrous, so it's more versatile than a center cut bow to one side. Because you do have to pick. You can't do both. That's gonna take away too much material. Yeah, I think that's how it works with the horse bow. I mean, shooting off the right hand side, I've not cared. Shooting it horse bow style off the right using your thumb, it just almost doesn't matter what spine arrows you have. It might take you one or two, then you'll figure out how that arrow flies, and with proper technique, it you almost tune yourself to the arrow rather than tuning the arrow to the bow. It's interesting. If you haven't thumb shot, I recommend it. It's great stuff. Come buy these bows off me. This one and this one will be going up for sale pretty soon. I mean, can I sell this one? It's actually a repair job. Maybe I should send this one to Armin, Asiatic archery fella. Armin Hermer, I believe his name is. I did say I'd make him a horse bow. I did want to send him an Iumi actually, but I broke both my Iumis, unfortunately. And I haven't had the heart to start another one yet. Come back to these, the ones I've done a little bit more of, and reaffirm my skills. Right, sweet. Yeah, so whichever handle design we go for, stupid hair out of the way, we are gonna be narrow. Use this padding. There we go. I've still got a marking for the center. I think it's about there. We could try a different way to find the center. We'll balance it. There we go. Oh yeah, it's more or less where I marked. Sorry if this has been a poor angle. Alright, sweet. And that knot is pretty much bang in the middle. I'll give myself a center line. Present the camera. Come on, pencil. The pencil's broken. Yes, I need a haircut, if anyone's thinking this. Maybe it's just me. Is anyone watching? Hello, by the way, and thank you. Thank you for visiting, and the subscriptions, and the kind comments, the useful information. Right, so, yes, thank you. Let's not skim over that. Thank you very much. It's been great. It's been a lot of work, on top of a lot of work. I'll tell you what, I need to turn more time to stick making as well. Pay the bills. Sticks are the bread and butter at the minute. You can find me on eBay and help a brother out, buy one of my walking sticks. The more I sell, the more I make. And they are like U bows, they are beautiful and unique every single time. A lovely functional tool, and they are much less likely to break when I'm making them as well. It's a little bit less heartbreaking. Yep. But I have vowed to learn how to do this, so there will also be bows on my eBay shop. Come find them. I think I'm Sweet Chariot England on that as well. Right, so that sort of marks to straight down the middle to where our wedges become inactive. So that's where, well, I could draw both actually. Let's do that. Let's say that's the center of the bow. You're going to center cut one of these. You're not going to want to go straight to center. You want to kind of cut. You could maybe go a bit closer than that. Actually, yeah, potentially first you might want to thin the whole handle down. For your horsebow handle, you know, an inch wide. Right, okay, now. But here's the thing. With the center cut bow, demonstrated quite nicely on Agent, I almost did this bit first. We kept the handle very wide as possible, and then started sort of bringing it in here and here to where you're going to pinch around it. So it's a great big meaty handle at the base on Agent. Let's see if we can show that. Really as wide as the base of the limb. Excuse me. A bit over an inch. Stays wide, and then dips in the middle here, and then wide again. Yeah, as much material retained as possible in this one. Whereas these guys, we want to go skinny. We want to get a real nice grip around the whole of the bow. So if we were doing a center cut, what would I do? Yeah, I'd definitely take a bit of this off. So take from the widest point of the limb. We're going to come in a bit. Sorry if you can't see that. We'd come in a wee bit, let's say. And you can decide how these wedges look. So remember, this is the center of the bow. You could bust out a tape measure and do this. When you're taking material away, it's like sculpting's like sketching, really, isn't it? You do it rough. So you'll be deciding on your exact lines as you do it. Right, so yeah, this is where your sort of traditional bow shape starts to appear. You're going to have, of course, your skinny horse bows, slightly different shape. You're going to have that distinctive taper in from the base of the limb in towards the center of the handle. I'm going to hash of that one. And what could you do? Sort of three fingers. There we go. Does that look like a bow handle? I think so, yes. Like I say, doing the center cut, I'd be tempted to leave it maybe just the slightest bit wider than that. Yeah. Like I say, with Agent, you can go different shapes. because the important part is, you know, the active limb and where you interface around the handle, you know, where your hand joins the bow. So this is what I'll aim for. Well, let's talk about the center cut just quick. Yeah, you don't want to go, because I'm not going to do the center cut on this bow, but I'll talk about it anyway. You don't want to go all the way to center, because you're going to scrape your way there. You're not going to cut all the way there. So imagine even if you did the perfect cut and the perfect chisel work, you're then going to need to, you know, bust out your sandpaper, and that's going to take material away. And the golden rule with doing your center cut is don't go past center. If you're going to do this with a self bow, firstly, you need a lot of depth for strength to stop any bending at all. Because if it bends at all, it's going to bend particularly right in the middle there where you've taken material away, and bang, you don't want that. So yeah, don't go past center. And then the other thing I think is forgotten is the way that your fletchings sit against this. This is my pro tip. I could be completely wrong. Who knows? Maybe having because I've seen shelves, you know, cutouts that are just, well, I've done them myself, are just like that, just a triangle, and I can't help but feel that well, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. That is going to knock against your fletching. Imagine you with this, you just did a flat surface here, and then brought it in. Your fletching's going to sit like this. As if you've got a shelf that's cut like this. I hope you can see this, sorry. If you've got a shelf that's cut like this, that is going to knock against your fletching. Maybe that's a good thing. You can add rifling, add spin. Maybe it's a bad thing. I don't know. The way I thought fletchings work is they're supposed to sort of catch the wind, catch the air, expose themselves, you know, at an angle, and straighten out the arrow. If they're spinning heavily, do they do that as well? Or does the rifling, like it does in a bullet, add stability? So that's something to think about. You can decide. You could go for that sort of cutout, or you could flatten it out and try and stabilize your arrow in a different way. But yeah, that's not the one that we're doing. Well, yeah. If you're doing that, you probably want to leave... Oh, actually, no, sorry. I've done it upside down. You can see here, this section of handle is just very slightly longer than this one. So that's the top of the bow. I do that to accommodate the hand. It's just a smidge, and you don't even have to do that. You can have, you know, this other section of the riser the same length as the bottom one for a simple life. But that's not what I've gone for. Yeah, let's take this side. It would be here if I'd done it on the right side. Yeah, that's the center of the bow there. And let's say we do a center cut. Comes around like this. And this section of material gets removed. Sink a saw straight into the middle of your lovely bow that you spent hours doing. Of course, you want to mark it up. So you mark up the dead center on the front and the back. And you don't go all the way to center with your saw. You stop short. Constantly checking. Vice your bow, take your saw, and start sawing into your beautiful bow. Yeah, then once you've done that, you want to chisel away this area here, and you've got yourself a cutout. You got to imagine it's, you know, the whole bow is more narrow than this. With the shape you're trying to achieve, this being the, you know, it's complicated. I've forgotten something. You can either sort of add a rest, add material in to create your arrow rest, or you can, you know, take material out. So you end up with your, you know, nice rounded comfortable shelf for your arrow to just take off of. And when you're doing that, you sort of want to consider things that might knock into the arrow as you know, as you form your shelf shape. Let's say there's a lot of angles to try and consider as the bow sort of rocks around in your hand. You want to try and sort of minimize that rocking in one design sense, and then you can minimize the effect on the arrow in another design sort of context. You can get rid of this material here and at the front as well, so if you do move the bow, it's not as liable to act on it. But this whole thing is sort of underpinned by like where is the center of the bow. I think on this one I put the center between the rest and the handle, the grip I should say. So let's say this is the dead center of the bow here, and sort of create a lump of material here. And then your arrow is going to sit here, and then your hand is going to sit here. Oh, that makes sense. That's the there's a lot of scribbles now, sorry. You say that's the middle of the bow. That's where your arrow is going to rest, on top of the lump of material you'll leave behind or add in. And then this little area at the base of your shelf and the top of the nook of the grip. That's an important little chunk of material there. And then this is the nook for where your thumb goes. So middle, arrow, hand. So it allows you to sort of, it's the question you ask yourself: does the arrow want to be in the middle of the bow? Does your hand want to be in the middle of the bow? You know, one's, you could argue, adds control in the hand, and one is sort of more directly behind the arrow. But yeah, I think you find this balance quite easily with it, just through feel and through checking the performance of the bow. Imagine that if you sort of these different angles that you can achieve, that you do the best. You get at the very worst, you want it balanced vaguely around this area here. I think that fine-tuning stuff, I don't fully understand it yet, but this is the way that I seem to understand it and have seen it work. So yeah, I hope that makes sense, all those vague scribbles there. Yeah, it's a case of taking a center cut. You want to cut from the center of your bow, because your arrow wants to travel right through that area there, right through the middle. It doesn't want to deviate at all around the bow. The string stays straight behind the arrow. See you later. Which is, I guess, well, you don't have to spine your arrows there. If that's a term you're not familiar with, you probably should be by now in traditional archery. Spining is just that combination of the bendiness in the middle of your arrow and the weight on the tip of the arrow, which adds or doesn't to that bend. And that all depends on how much material you're asking your arrow to move around, how long your draw length is, and the power of the bow. All of those things affect how bendy an arrow needs to be on your traditional bow. Like this one. If you're shooting off the left-hand side. If we're shooting off the right-hand side, thumb style, Asian style, like I said earlier, I've almost not noticed spining on arrows. Only if you do bad technique. If you don't move the bow out of the way, then you're going to notice the effect that this center area has on the arrow. And if you try and fire this one off the left-hand side, you will definitely notice it. It will kick in a way that is not good. Yeah, you're shooting off the hand with this guy, even though it's got a little shelf here. That is not for resting the arrow on. That's for getting your hand, well, allowing you to have a nice thick-ish grip, decent amount of material in the middle, but then also a nice thin area for your arrow to get past, so it hasn't got to do quite as much bending. Like I say, shooting off the right hand side, you flick the bow out of the way, so it really doesn't have to do any bending at all. So as well as being ambidextrous, it allows you to shoot instinctive thumb draw style, which is why I think we're going to go for another horsebow style handle. So let's show you how that looks. I'm going to just sketch it on again. Let's say the key with the horsebow, you're looking for a nice, slim, comfortable grip, which makes you grab the whole thing, not just pinch it like that. So what I'm going to do here, because we've got lots of material to play with, I can actually remove a little bit on the front here. It's going to be hard to draw. We can come down 2 or 3 growth rings. Work pencil. Without changing the power of the bow, this will be the consideration here. Making sure I don't come too far this way. I'm going to try and dip this area here. Imagine that's where the hand's going to go across. But first, I think it might be wise to form this part of the handle. And once again, going to have to be mindful of not taking power away. Bleeding this shape into the wedges being these guys. So yes, what do? We try and get the hand right in the middle with the horsebow handle. We want as much control as possible. Oh, that's harder to sketch on that side, that shape. Yeah, we'll be getting rid of these 2 lumps here, and then end up with just a nice mound in the middle there, which is going to sit nicely into the palm. And this area here is probably quite a good representation of how narrow we're going to go. I think it's what, like around an inch, maybe as little as half an inch. I was just looking for a tape measure. Don't want to have to go wander off and get, well, there's one over there, I can't be bothered. Yeah, let's see on this one, it's more or less the width of my thumb I've come down to. And the depth, let's say 2 thumbs. I think similar sort of sub 30 power again. This one is a little bit higher. Still, that should be plenty of material. Let's say I'll do the back before taking it. Do the back and the slimming it down before I take anything away from the front. It might even just be a very small amount of duck it in. Yes. What else? What else? So my scribblings on the front there. Yeah, this area. These are tricky. Forget what you call these. Or these tapers into the handle. How'd you go about doing it? I mean, you could do the whole thing with sandpaper, nice and gently if you really wanted to. It'd take a little while. So what we're probably going to want to do is cut. Either chisel, or if you're confident with your saw. Yeah. Firstly, mark it out properly. This is all nicely scribbled on now. I have literally just sketched this. You want to give it a really good look over. And then once you've marked on, obviously in the spirit of sculpting, you don't go all the way to the line. You just come just a little bit back from your line. Yeah, it's going to take you longer. Work through your tools. it'll be worth it. You can give yourself a margin for error. You don't want to, you don't want to slip and just a millimeter too far with your saw, and you cause problems. You've gone thinner than you want to in this area, and it might go too thin that it'll snap. So yeah, err on the side of caution. Don't cut all the way. And let's do a horsebow handle for this guy. The other thing to consider once you've done once I've done this, this will be my next thing to do. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Arrow pass. Where's the top limb? Yeah, the arrow pass is gonna come in somewhere around here. Just like an arrow rest, you probably want it shaped off, nice and friendly to your arrow. And you're going to do the same on the other side. So 20 mil. This will be the narrowest part of the bow. So it won't be too much thinner than the rest of the handle, but it will definitely be thinner than the rest of the handle. Around about there. And you sort of want to look at it as like two mini arrow shells. It's just easier to get this one out, isn't it? This is what they look like. These are quite straight wee ones. Yeah, your thumb sits on top. And then the arrow sits up here and doesn't rest. So yeah, I'm trying to create a skinny area here that isn't so slim that it snaps on you. That's the challenge on your particular piece of wood. Be it thin or deep or whatever. Or a tougher draw weight than these ones. These are diddy bows, toy bows, really. But I've learnt a lot from doing these. And I'll tell you what, you can really practice your technique with a lighter weight draw bow. Yeah, don't look like slouches at all though either if you see my shorts shooting them. I'm amazed at how quick this one throws those aluminium arrows. Really good. Right, cool. I hope I've been... that looks like a scribbly mess, but I hope I've been somewhat informative about handles. Yeah, you got to make it comfortable without making it break. And then from comfortable, you need to make it work right. Interface with the arrow. I guess that's how you say it. You need to interface with your hand and then also interface with the arrow. And interface with your limbs as well. So this is quite a crucial area. Having a nice lump of material is good. Of course, each piece of wood is different. Just have to think about it in a slightly different way, maybe. Let's see, watching a video of Delcat the other day, refusing to add material to the back. A message saying he should put a slice of walnut or something on there, and come round to it. But he's a proper traditionalist. How did he say it? It goes against the grain. Let's stop it. I like it. I like the way it looks. Let's see if I can. Oh yeah, that's a glued up one. Have I got another one that can easily show off? One of my old, more backset bows. Go wild with gluing it up. Glue up some oak on. No, that's ash, isn't it? Yeah, ash on there, and then a bit of maple and some oak on the shelf as well. Why the hell not? Let's glue them right up. Yeah, something I might do is revisit some of these bows. I don't know. It might feel sort of rude not to. So rude to do that. They are what they are, right? This is my mutant hybrid of a English longbow, a flat bow, and a composite bow, center cut composite bow. I need to shoot these again. Remind myself of the feel, because yeah, these aren't amazing, but I remember them feeling better than the first ones I made. So yeah, that's that refinement. Just each little bit more thought out. You can see the Difference in back set, maybe. Talking like 3 fingers more back set on this one. I still like it though. I need to shoot it and remind myself how I shouldn't. There we go. That's the different handles you can do if you're hodgepodging your way through bow making like me. Yeah, I feel I should do traditional handle works with these ones for those reasons right there. It's a little bit more versatile. Yeah, you don't get to do the modern style, the very steady modern style Mediterranean style archery. I suppose they can if you spine your arrows right, but left or right-handed you can shoot thumb style with these, which is awesome. I've really come around to it. Yeah. So handle, skinny them down, shape them up. Then I am gonna look at doing some slight reflex on this guy. I think starting from about here. See if we can set a little bit of reflex in there and add a little bit more speed to this 30-pound bow. See what we can make it do. All right, thanks again, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.